Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. And honestly, it was a pretty crazy week, as we have the finale for the NWA Crockett Cup, which I'll get into that first. Then we got AEW Collision. Now, the reason I say Collision is because I did kind of miss out on Dynamite. I had some guests over, so I didn't really watch much Dynamite. I did catch, the tail end of it, so I didn't really take notes. And then that leaves us with MLW Fightland. So, definitely got a lot to go over. And, hold tight, because we got a good one. As we start off with NWA Power, and it's the finale of the Crockett Cup saga. And, honestly, it's definitely been an interesting episode. Interesting series. And, we're going to go through it now, as we got a hype video, not only for Colby Corino, Rhino, and Tom Latimer, but also one for the Colognes and the Immortals. We'll get to that a little bit later. Then we got a video recap of the Immortals versus Knox and Murdoch from last week. And then we get a Knox and Murdoch promo. They're outside their 2300. Just kind of talking to the video, to the camera, saying, "I can't believe we draw the weakest people to us. I cannot explain how freeing it is to be rid of smalls. And there's nothing weak or small about us. And we always go to Billy Corgan and say we want to be a part of this, be on the poster for that. And he made us have a spot with smalls. And right now, we are lighter, we are meaner, and we are hungrier than ever. And we want some competition." So, Knox and Murdoch definitely having a little follow-up of them taking out Eric Smalls, their former ally, I guess. And it does seem like they're pinning that teaming up with William Patrick Corgan, in which that's just untrue. So, our first matchup of the evening, and it's for the NWA World Heavyweight title in a triple threat match. And we got the son of ECW legend Steve Corino. We got Colby Corino, which I love they keep mentioning his dad. Such a great legacy. Speaking of great ECW legacy, we got the man beast, Rhino, making his return to the 2300. And honestly, he still looks great. Although he is not sprinting down the ramp to his music anymore, which is a little sad. And then finally, our last entrance into this triple threat, our World Heavyweight Champion, Tom Latimer. And he gets booed out of the building. And I understand. You got a legacy guy in Colby. You got a direct ECW guy in Rhino. And then you got Tom Latimer, who just kind of doesn't really fit the bill here. Anyway, early on, Rhino and Latimer keep tossing Corino around. Eventually, Corino does get a little advantage, including some meaty chops. But then, we go to the one thing I really don't love about NWA these days. When they go to commercial, it is immediately in the middle of the match, and it continues with a promo or a hype video for something coming. And this one is for the Immortals, which I know you gotta hype up the main event, but this definitely messes with the flow of the show. If you're gonna do this, maybe do this like before the match or like right after it. No more during. Anyway, so we come back. They're brawling a little bit up the ramp, including a big old suplex by Rhino onto Tom Latimer, which that was crazy. Then Latimer with a big old fall away slam back in the ring. Rhino hits a senton for a 2 count. Rhino with a big meaty superplex only gets a 2. And Kobe goes to the outside. He grabs a chair. He sets it up. He attempts a hip attack on Rhino. That gets caught him almost immediately. But Corino counters it into a DDT. Kobe with some arm drags on Tom Latimer. Then Rhino goes for the gore. That gets blocked. With Corino throwing the chair at him. Which, that was crazy. Then Corino sets up the chair right before the ring ropes. It's a big old Sabu triple jump moonsault from the ring to the outside, which, that was beautiful. Corino gets Latimer back in, only gets a 2 count. Then unloads the super kicks. Latimer tries a roll up, but that only gets a 2. Corino goes for a 450 splash. That misses. As soon as he gets up, he gets gored by Rhino. Rhino's scrambling for the pin. Tom Latimer then grabs Rhino by his singlet, throws him to the outside, hits a brighter side of suffering to pick up the win. And honestly, that was a fantastic triple threat. I do wish there was maybe a couple more weapons involved to make it kind of another throwback to ECW. But I enjoyed it. I was kind of hoping Kobe would win it here, but you got your next challenger coming up. And he's a big one. So next we get a video recap of EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth versus the Colognes from, I think this was like 3 weeks ago. So then we get Pastor CeeLo, Pretty Boy Smooth, and EC3. They're coming to promo with CeeLo pretty much taking the lead, saying, "That wasn't us. Don't think we formally introduced ourselves, Colognes. I'm Pastor CeeLo. This is the Mountain of a Man, Pretty Boy Smooth." And then Pretty Boy Smooth just kind of takes over, saying, "Just because we lost doesn't mean I'm not the biggest man on the roster." Then EC3 chimes in. I didn't quite catch everything he was said because he is a swift talker. And he pretty much says, look, that loss was an omen. Our goal was never the Crockett Cup. It was this entire company. So, yeah, it looks like we are going to have a hostile takeover storyline with EC3 and his affiliate, his territory, which, that sounds fun, honestly. Then we get a recap of the TV title match from, like, a month ago. So that was, not Austin Idol. Brian Idol and Carson Drake for the TV title, which was vacant at the time. But now we got a Carson Drake promo. It looks like he's sat backstage somewhere. Maybe in front of the, one of those big mirrors with all the light bulbs in it. And he pretty much says, look, after a few weeks of trying to handle this, I'm going to be the bigger man, Idol. I could easily file a lawsuit against the NWA because I never officially relinquished my TV title, but I'm looking to bigger and better things, and to everyone in the NWA, you can't beat me. Which, I love how cocky Carson Drake is. He is just a good, sniving, conniving heel, and he just fits this role so good. One thing he needs, though, I think, besides the slime balls, I don't think they should be regular buddies, but Carson Drake needs his own crew. Like, no Aaron Stevens, no BFG, just him and maybe a handful of other guys. And girls, if you want to include them. So now we make it to the main event of NWA Power, and it's the final match in the Crockett Cup tournament, as we got the Immortals. So that's Odinson and Kratos taking on Primo and Epico Cologne. Now, if you don't know Primo and Epico, they are the cousin / brother of Carlito, who is now a free agent, in which NWA, go get yourself the complete set. And, yeah, this was definitely very interesting to start. Colognes looked like they're a little afraid of Odinson. Eventually, Primo does lock up with him, but Odinson completely overpowers him. Odinson attempts a Death Valley driver that gets blocked into a backstabber by Primo. Tags in Epico, who hits a big old cutter for a 2 count. A little later on, you have you definitely have the clones with an advantage. Straight jacket. Oh, right. So then Epico locks Odinson in a straitjacket submission, which is like kind of a Kukina clutch, but it's a little bit more on the side than the back, if that makes any sense. But eventually Odinson does power out of it. Some quick tags by the Colognes, including hitting a big old brainbuster for a 2 count. They keep the advantage for a little bit until eventually Odinson does tag in Kratos. Epico tags in Primo. And Kratos just goes to town on poor Primo. Including Kratos locking in an armbar submission, while Odinson locks Epico in the ankle lock. Eventually, both brothers get out of it. Epico with a big old flatliner for a 2. Tags in Primo. Hits the backstabber. Epico hits the frog splash for a 2 count. Kratos fights back. Eventually tags in Odinson. And they hit Immortality for the win. And they win the Crockett Cup. And then, I guess, Commissioner, I don't know his real title in the NWA. But Davy Crockett, the son of Jim Crockett, may he rest in peace, presents the Immortals with the Crockett Cup trophy. And they hold it over their heads proudly. Now, at that point, I thought we were going to see the tag champions come out, or someone else come out. But the Immortals were allowed their time in the sun, which I appreciate. And honestly, that was a really solid episode of Power. A little sad the Crockett Cup is done, but I am hyped to see what's next, because we got some good things coming up. We got the return of the Pope D'Angelo De Niro, which I'm excited for. Got a couple of debuts next week as well, which that should be fun. So, yeah, lot to look forward to for Power. Next up is AEW Collision. Now, like I said, didn't quite watch Dynamite last week, so I didn't take notes. I got notes for Collision. And honestly, AEW are doing a really, really good job as presenting this as a bit more important to the storylines being told. Now, does this mean they're doing perfectly? No. Are they doing really well? Absolutely. So, we start off Collision with an MJF Mark Briscoe face-off. And MJF comes out first. He's got the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He has the CMLL, I want to say it's welterweight title, that he's rechristened the world title, which, I don't know, that's a little weird. Anyway, so MJF gets in the ring and he says, so you're going to stand there and hold the mic. Well, he's saying that to the ring announcer. So then we hear just drowned out by boos. So MJF turns to the crowd and says, wow, I thought this was the city of brotherly love. What happened? That gets more of a reaction, which is great. So then he takes the microphone from the ring announcer, says, Mark, what you experienced last week was an eye for an eye. And you managed to stick it to the man everyone hates. But while that happened, I'm going to be your next world champion. And I know you're not proud of being blue collar because I was born better. And that all out, I got no problem letting you pick our stipulation for the match. But it doesn't really matter because at all out, when that bell rings, blue collar will bust and white collar will win. At that point, Mark Briscoe appears on the Tron, aka one of the smallest screens I have ever seen for a wrestling show. Like, there's my TV here is way bigger. Anyway, so Mark says, Max, I just gotta say thank you. You've provided me with a level of excitement I haven't felt in a long time. Because you decided to let me pick the stipulation for our match. But I got an idea. We are in Philly. And I know they got a thing for tables, which gets a loud tables, tables chant from the ECW faithful. He continues, I'm going to make that our first piece of the puzzle. But then I thought, what network are we on? We're currently on TNT. So what is TNT? How about a tables and thumbtacks match? And I'm not talking about 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, which that's a nice little reference to the match of 10,000 tacks stipulation TNA did back in the day. If you want to see the best one, look for Judas Messias versus Abyss, which is it's a little bit gory, but I think you're gonna like it. Anyway, so Briscoe announces, yeah, we'll do that. We're gonna have ourselves a TNT match where everything could go down. And I'm going to give you that ass whooping your wife should have given you. Which, great line by Mark Briscoe. I love that. So Mark looks like he's about finished. Brings the microphone back up to his mouth. Says, oh, I forgot. You had your wedding over the weekend. So I got you a present. Turn around. So MJF turns around. Mark Briscoe spears the life out of MJF. He gets out of the ring, grabs a very familiar black bag, dumps the bag of tacks out on the mat. He has MJF set up for a J Driller, but MJF escapes and runs up the ramp. I gotta tell you, this build has been a little nutty, but I have been really enjoying this feud. It gets a little back and forth, and I'm pretty sure MJF is gonna win it. But honestly, I feel like this has been a whole lot of fun. Anyway, after this, we get a little recap of Daniel Garcia turning his back on the fans, joining up with Moxley and the Death Riders after attacking Darby Allin on Dynamite, which that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how that goes. Excuse me. After that, we got Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, along with Hologram for whatever reason, in a backstage interview. They're in a car park somewhere, which I don't think I've seen an interview like that. But as soon as Hologram was shown, the glitches from his clone, or whatever the heck is going on, shows up. And then we get to our normal interview with the Paragon. So Kyle starts it off saying, I never thought he'd be here. Danny was such a good boy. But now he slips from the top and he's accepted a deal from the devil. And then Roderick Strong chimes in and says, Danny! Which I am getting a little tired of the screaming. He says, you upset Adam Cole. So tonight, I'm going to beat your ass. And Moxley, I'm going to beat your ass just because. That main event is going to be nuts. I cannot wait for that. So, now we get to our first match for Collision. And it's a qualifying match for the unified title match at All Out. We got Konosuke Takeshita taking on the 5-2 player Anthony Bowens. And honestly, I am hyped Anthony Bowens kept up with Takeshita. Takeshita is just one of those guys who can have a 4-star match with a broomstick. He's that damn good. Not to say Bowens is any sort of slouch. He's really good. But yeah, the back and forth between these two was absolutely great, including, near the end, Bowens countering Takeshita's Blue Thunder Bomb. Eventually, Takeshita does hit it to his knee, which is very interesting. Then Takeshita with the Raging Fire to pick up the win. And that was a little bit of a letdown, but I'm going to tell you a spoiler right now. This is not the last time we're seeing Anthony Bowens. So next up, we got a Máscara Dorada versus the Beast Mortis hype video, in which Dorada said some things in Spanish I don't really understand. I'm sorry. I didn't take a foreign language in school. Alright? Sue me. Then we get a little all-out card rundown in which we're getting a 4-way ladder match for the tag team titles, which that's going to be awesome. That's going to be so much fun. Where we'll see qualifying matches on September to Remember, which is this coming Wednesday, which I cannot wait for that show. That's going to be such a good show. Next, I thought we were going to get a Toni Storm matchup, but it turns out she's joining commentary. But before that, we get a Riho versus Mercedes Moné hype video, which that's one match I didn't even think I wanted to see, but now I'm getting it. I can't believe how hyped I am for it. That's going to be such a good matchup. So our next match is a 5-on-5 match where the winning team gets $5,000 or something. It's some weird amount of money. So on one side we have Thekla, Sky Blue, and Julia Hart of the Triangle of Madness. They're joined by Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford to take on the team of TJ, Ty Conti, and Anna Jay, which I am so hyped they're back together. To team with Chris Statlander and Harley Cameron, which is the weirdest team I think I've ever seen. And they're teaming up with Jamie Hayter. Now, a couple of these guys are going to be challenging Toni Storm for the AEW Women's title at All Out. So there's definitely some really nice interconnectivity for this. So, but right before the bell rings, we see someone very interesting at ringside, and it's Wheeler Yuta. And Yuta and the Death Riders have been attempting to recruit Chris Statlander, which we'll see if that takes. Anyway, so this match, everyone got some good stuff in. Eventually, it did turn into a big brawl after a little while. But eventually, with all of the commotion going on, Thekla and Anna Jay eventually get in legally. They just strike each other a little bit. Thekla does her spider walk, hits the spear to pick up the win for her team. So her team is now a little richer. Then the heels just start beating up the baby faces. Then out comes Mina Shirakawa and Queen Aminata to even the odds. Then all of a sudden, Toni Storm gets up from the desk, grabs a microphone, and says, "Big bro, bitch!" and just hits a big old crossbody on Megan Bayne. Then Thekla gets Toni Storm in the ring, goes for the spider walk spear. Toni blocks it, hits a Storm Zero to pick up the win. To end the segment. So it is starting to look like maybe Toni Storm is showing some cracks. So, we'll see where that goes. We then get the Max Caster Open Challenge. He does his old spiel, which I cannot believe is over. Like, that is so over. His opponent, though, is Big Bill, a.k.a. Big Cass. And you can't teach that. Little shout out to Enzo. And, this was a squash match. Like, it did look like Max Caster was trying to fight back, but eventually he gets hit with like a springboard collie chop to the head, and then Big Bill with a black hole slam to pick up the win. So, post-match, Big Bill grabs a microphone, says, "Eddie Kingston, where you at? At least this loudmouth showed up." And the IWC fans calling me out for challenging you, Eddie. It's the same old story. Eddie, these people love you. You represent them, and I'm sick of it. You worship all these Japanese legends. I don't care what you think or what anyone else thinks. So I have a challenge for you. All Out. And the thing is, I know you're not going to show up. You're nothing more than a typical loudmouth fraud. Dang, that is just... oof, that one hurts. So, almost immediately, the match graphic comes up. I wish it didn't. And here's why. I wish there was a little bit more drama to it. So that leading up to this open challenge, it's not really a part of the card. So that when Eddie Kingston eventually does come out, he gets a monstrous reaction. Now, don't get me wrong. He is still going to get a big reaction. But I was kind of hoping for more suspense from it. Anyway, cut to backstage where for a Anthony Bowens interview, but he's being talked to by Jerry Lynn, who is a producer for AEW and an ECW legend. So Jerry Lynn tells Bowens that I wanted you to take a good long look in the mirror and ask what's missing. Well, now I want you to ask who is missing. And at that point, Max Caster's passing by. Bowens sees him, and they just brawl all the way to the ring. Jerry Lynn comes out. He breaks him up. Jerry Lynn gets the microphone, says, Max, you both have lost your mind. Tony Khan saw something in you as a team. You fought your way to the top, including to the tag team champions. And then both of you said, oh, I could have a great singles run. And you, Max, you haven't won a match since. And Bowens, you're spinning your wheels doing nothing. At that point, we see Bowens trying to leave, but Jerry Lynn calls him out. Then at that point, Blake Christian and Lee Johnson show up, with Blake Christian taking the lead, saying, I am sick of this. So, Jerry, you really want to become daddy ass number 2, that's hilarious. He continues, you should be investing more time in us. And, well, now we're going to show you firsthand what you're missing. So at that point, Blake Christian and Lee Johnson get in the ring. They start beating the heck out of Jerry Lynn. Max Caster tries to help him, but the numbers are way too even, I guess. Then you see Bowens. He's on the outside. He's conflicted. Then he gets in the ring, and he just starts raising hell with Jerry Lynn and Max Caster. And I'm going to say this. Jerry Lynn looks great. I think he can still go. Maybe get me one more match. And after a big double clothesline from the former Acclaimed members, Jerry Lynn grabs them both by the hand, raises them, but then both take their hands down. They take one look at each other, and then they bail. So potentially the Acclaimed getting back together. That's definitely going to be interesting. But this time without Billy Gunn, which I guess he's full-time with Maple Leaf Pro. I don't know what's going on there. But, yeah, I hope they tell an interesting story with these two, because they got a lot of history as a team. They got a lot of history as opponents. I think we can milk this really well until we do eventually reunite them. So next up, we got a Mystico interview, which immediately gets interrupted by MJF and his mascot, his manager from CMLL. I don't know who this dude is, but he looks like he's dressed up like Abe Lincoln, which is very strange. So MJF says, relax, Mystico. I come in peace for today. And for the millionth time at CMLL Anniversario, I'm going to rip that mask off your face. But I'm not just doing this for my country. I'm ready to end you. So, MJF's manager then gets into Mystico's face a little bit. He's talking whatever smack in Spanish, which I'm sorry, I don't understand. Mystico then gives the guy a big old slap to the face. Manager falls over. Mystico then turns to the camera, says, MJF, I'll see you next week. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting match. And I know for some people watching CMLL is a bit tough. I don't really have the resources, but there is a dude on Twitch that usually shows stuff like this. I'm not going to give out any information. I am sorry. Anyway, next matchup. A bit of what I thought was going to be a really one-sided match ended up being a great match. As FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler take on the really weird yet interesting team of Tommy Billington, aka the nephew of not the British Bulldog, Dynamite Kid. That's who it is. Teaming up with current DPW champion Adam Priest, which is insane. And what I thought was just going to be a 5-minute squash match turned out to be one of the best matches I think I've ever seen. Like, the chemistry's there, a lot of counters. Although at one point we did see Cash Wheeler's arm get caught in the turnbuckle a little bit, which that scared the hell out of me. Because last time that happened, he tore it. Like, that was scary. Anyway, after an attempted pile driver by Adam Priest that gets blocked by FTR, they hit their own aided pile driver to pick up the win. And yeah, that was definitely a very fun matchup. And now we get revealed who is participating in the qualifying matches for the tag team ladder match at All Out. So we got Top Flight, so that's Darius and Dante Martin, as they take on Josh Alexander and Hensha Zero of the Don Callis family. Then we got Killswitch and Kip Sabian taking on Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight of Jet Speed. And then to finish it up, it's going to be a very interesting one. You got Colton. Is it Austin or Colton? I think it's Austin. Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson of the Bang Bang Gang taking on the Young Bucks. Oh, that's going to be awesome. All three of those tag matches are going to go down at September to Remember, which is this coming Wednesday. Should be a good bunch of matches. And actually, speaking of a good bunch of matches, we got an AEW Unified title match as we get Kazuchika Okada, the champion, defending against Rev Pro's Michael Oku. And if you've never seen Michael Oku wrestle, you are missing out. He's I feel like he's on the level of like a Will Ospreay. He's that damn good. Although he did take a bit of a scary bump after a big drop kick from Okada. He landed on the barricade and he kind of landed back and arm first, so I thought he dislocated something. Thankfully he got back in. He fought with all his heart. Continued to block the Rainmaker attempts, which is great. Eventually Okada hits a pile driver, executes the Rainmaker to pick up the win, retain his title, move on to All Out. So we got 2 out of 3 participants in that match. And then we see Takeshita come out, walks to the bottom of the ramp, and he and Okada have a stare down. Oh, the tension's been there with these two. It's going to be interesting to see how it boils over. So next we have a hype video for Hangman Page versus Kyle Fletcher for All Out, which that's going to be a damn good one. Like, we'll see what happens there. Do we see Fletcher become a double champ? I'm not sure. But it's definitely going to be fun. And then we got our main event for AEW Collision. We got the Death Riders being represented by Jon Moxley and Daniel Garcia, which is crazy to think about, as they take on the Paragon, which is Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong. And this was a great old back and forth little matchup. Just really, really fun. Everyone hitting all kinds of stuff. Moxley attempting a bulldog choke, but Kyle O'Reilly gets out of it, locks in a knee bar, in which Roddy breaks it up, which forces Kyle into a roll-up position for a 2 count. Eventually Roddy does tag in. Kyle hits a big old drop kick. Then at that point, Kyle O'Reilly is going for his big running knee off the apron. Shafir then gets in his face a little bit. Kyle O'Reilly gets back in the ring. Mox tags in Garcia. Garcia locks in an arm. Kyle locks in an armbar. Mox breaks it up. Garcia then locks in the Lion Tamer to pick up the win. Then, as the Death Riders are kind of convalescing on the outside, Matt Menard, Daniel Garcia's former mentor, gets up from commentary, gets in Garcia's face a little bit, but Garcia has a little bit of a 1,000-yard stare, in which Mox kind of taps him on the chest. He, Garcia, and Shafir leave the arena and finish off the show. So, like I said, I feel like AEW are doing a way better job on showing the importance of AEW Collision to the greater lore of AEW. So, like I said, I was very entertained by this, and honestly, it wasn't just wrestling. It was definitely some story beats, although I too kind of wish there was a little bit more. But that was very entertaining show. I hope Michael Oku is okay. Like, that was a very scary bump. Same thing with Cash Wheeler. Like I said, dude, guy had an arm injury like that during the pandemic in 2020, I think. And that was just plain scary, man. So, that'll do it for Collision. We then finish up with MLW Fightland. Now, MLW doesn't really do weekly shows, although I have heard through the grapevine a little bit, they may be looking to do more weekly stuff. So, we'll keep an eye on that. But for now, they're just doing pay-per-view models, although they are free on YouTube. Next one's, I think, the 27th, so look out for that. But we start off with a very interesting matchup, and it's for round 1 matchup of the Opera Cup. If you don't know what this is, back in the day, wrestling shows used to take place in opera houses, so a promoter, I forget who, I need to look that up, came up with this trophy. Anyway, so our combatants, I know I'm going to butcher this name, is Esteve? Esteves? I don't know how to pronounce that. I know I've heard it pronounced on Fightland a couple of times, but good lord, I cannot pronounce this name. His opponent, the current MLW Openweight Champion, Ultimo Guerrero. And no, he has no relation to Eddie and Chavo and Vicky. So, this matchup was absolutely nuts. It did start a little slowly, but eventually it did build up to a big lucha crescendo, in which we see them trading roll-ups for a bit. Ultimo Guerrero with like a world's strongest slam type move. I'm not sure what that was. But then Ultimo Guerrero with a Guerrero special to pick up the win. So now this next thing is kind of funny. So the last event, there was an ad for a tequila brand they called Don Gato, in which they had a luchador character dressed up in like a cat luchador mask. So honestly, I thought that was just an ad. Apparently this dude's legit. Like, he's real. He's here. So we have a vignette for him going over his history of both tequila and wrestling, which honestly, that's kind of funny, because our next match, we got an Opera Cup first round matchup, as we get Blue Panther taking on Blue Panther Jr., not Blue Panther Classic. That's a very different dude, taking on Zydokan Jr. I know I'm butchering that too. I'm sorry, I am very white. Now this match was kind of the antithesis of the first matchup of the evening. They were just like, go, 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 move, 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 move. Including Zydokan's crew, which I can say because they are a pirate crew, which that is hilarious. They keep interfering. Blue Panther tries to go for some usual wrestling moves, but that gets countered by Zydokan, who hits a very unusual finish, which is the double thrust chop, which is like maybe the lamest finish I've ever seen. So basically it's just a double chop to pick up the win. And then post-match, we barely saw it. Zydokan takes off Blue Panther Jr.'s mask and claims it for himself. I guess that's his crew's booty for the pirate lovers there. Again, definitely a very interesting matchup. I am definitely a fan of Lucha Libre, and that was pretty darn good. So next, we go backstage into the bowels of the arena, and we see MJF hanging out with Alex Hammerstone. Now, for those of you who don't know, MJF actually did have his start in MLW before AEW was ever a thing, and he teamed with Alex Hammerstone in a team called the Dynasty, which also included independent wrestler Richard Holiday, who I think needs to come back. Anyway, so MJF starts off saying, 6 years ago, we were all on top. While I'm all elite, you're still major league. I have watched you go from king of the castle to a court jester. And you're walking around here like you're not the guy. So Hammerstone kind of looks up, takes a look at MJF, saying, you're absolutely right. MJF then says, look, the hammer we need is the hammer of old. So Hammerstone says, I've seen all the tweets of people who say your best days were behind you. when is the dynasty getting back together? And the fans think I like it. The dynasty is over, and we will rise and fall with the times. And they talk about the great things I've done, like my match with Jacob Fatu, which makes me feel like my best days are behind me, and it's a feeling that makes me want to quit. But I love pro wrestling, and maybe it's time I stopped loving it. I'm ready to fully hate pro wrestling. Every venue, every fan, every promoter. And if you and I think you're right, my best days are yet to come. And in the wrestling landscape, we are the dynasty. Yes, a nice fired up promo from Alex Hammerstone. I can't wait to see what Hammerstone's got next, because he is such an underrated competitor. I'm a little sad his run in TNA fell flat, but I think MLW is the place he needs to be. Anyway, this next match was very interesting, to say the least. And it's for the MLW Featherweight title, which is their women's division. As we got Tommy Kamafuki. I hope I am pronouncing that right. I'm sorry. I don't know Japanese. As she takes on the big kaiju, Shoko Nakajima. I know I got that one right. And like I said, this one was a bit weird. It starts with Tommy trying to issue a test of strength. Her hand goes up here, and with Shoko being a little short, she kind of goes up there, which I find funny. But then Nakajima with a stomp, a couple of takedowns for 2. Tommy likes her big boot. Like, that is a move she threw throughout this match. And it was very, very strange. And then apparently she also likes a version of the Fameasser, which is very, very weird. Near the end of the match, Nakajima with a couple of 619s. One to the face, one to the back. That only gets a 2 count. She tries for a DDT, that gets blocked. Tommy with a Fameasser for a 2 count. She goes for the springboard leg drop, misses. And then Nakajima with a couple of suplexes to pick up the win. So, near the end, this match definitely picked up a little bit. But it started out really, really weird. Like, I don't know what it was. But I do think they got their match on track eventually. So next, we're backstage in Cesar Duran's office. We see Selena De La Renta and Cesar Duran. They're talking about the adventure they just went on. So we don't get to see that adventure they went on. I don't know what they went after. But apparently they got whatever they got. So then they're like, oh, we're so tired. We're ready to go. And then apparently in walks Don Gato. So he's canon. So then Don Gato lays apparently a special pair of brass knuckles on Cesar Duran's chair. Cesar Duran hypes up Don Gato, saying, oh, he's so undefeated with these. So then Don Gato brings out his tequila, pours a drink, they cheers. And before they can have a drink, in walks Akira Kwan, who says, well, you guys aren't wasting your time with this, and it doesn't change this fact, this title is mine, and I'll let you figure out how to stop me. So he leaves, and the Duran family just kind of stand around. I don't know, this that segment was just a little bit weird. I was kind of hoping we would see segments from this grand big adventure that was teased at the last show. Maybe we'll see a slideshow of it someday, but yeah, I felt a bit let down by that. So next we get a nice little hype video for Hammerstone versus Matthew Justice, which leads us into our next match, as we got Alexander Hammerstone taking on Matthew Justice in a Texas death match. And originally, Hammerstone didn't want to use weapons. Matthew Justice brought in a trash can. Hammerstone initially throws it out, but then he gets it back in, goes for a body slam on it. Matthew Justice slips out. Justice then with a bulldog into the can, which that was pretty cool. Then Hammerstone with some trash can lid shots, and then military press slams him into the announce table, which that was nuts. Then Hammerstone and Justice brawl into the crowd. Justice grabs not a gimmicked folding chair, but like one of the extra chairs from the arena, hits Hammerstone with it, throws him into some barricades along the crowd. Then Matthew Justice grabs a table from backstage, sets it up, sets Hammer on it, goes to that next level, hits a big splash through Hammerstone and through the table. Justice then leads Hammerstone back to ringside, and I don't know if I missed a step here, but the next thing I saw was Hammerstone wrapping a chain around his hand and then just beating the snot off of Matthew Justice. Then Hammerstone grabs a door wrapped in barbed wire, sets it up. Then Justice fights back with a few chops, and then goes for a chain shot. Hammerstone catches it. Hammerstone with a suplex onto Justice through the door. Hammerstone then grabs a cookie sheet, hits a couple shots on Justice, goes for the Nightmare Pendulum, that gets blocked. Justice with a superplex attempt, that gets blocked. Hammerstone hits it for a 2 count. Justice with a big old axe kick. Hammerstone with a suplex powerbomb combo for a 2 count. Then Hammerstone gets so frustrated, he grows out, grabs a table, sets it up in the ring. He grabs another table. Matthew Justice dives into it, knocking Hammerstone down. Justice with a Death Valley driver through the table only gets a 2 count. Matthew just then gets a chair. And the unused table that was set up hits a couple of chair shots, sets up the table, goes to throw Hammer through it. Hammer with a low blow, and then a spinebuster through the table. Picks Justice back up, hits the Nightmare Pendulum to pick up the win. And that was an awesome match. It just felt like wrestling of old again. Like, just in their face and just honestly a lot of fun. We then get a hype video for Templorio versus Akira Kwan. Then we get a hype-up video for MOW's next couple of shows, which include Lucha de los Muertes. I hope I am pronouncing that wrong. Right. I believe that's going to be in November. But then coming up on the 27th is Fury Road, which is going to be very interesting to see how that card pans out, because that is a bit of a short build for a show like this. Anyway, next up we got Templario taking on Akira Kwan for the vacant MLW middleweight title. Now, originally, Mystico did hold this title, but he vacated it wanting to challenge for the world title. We'll get to that in a minute. But Akira Kwan stole it, so he claims he's the middleweight champion. Templario wants some payback, so we are getting this match here and now. And this match was absolutely a whole lot of fun. Before we get further into it, then we see Cesar Duran, Salina De La Renta, and Don Gato all up in the VIP section. Let's call it that. And this was really good back and forth. Eventually, Kwan hits a GTS, but he also hits the referee, so we got a ref bump. Out comes the Sentai Death Squad to attack Templario. If you don't know who these are just masked goons. So then Don Gato grabs his brass knuckles. He rushes down to the ring to fight them off. Templario with a knee and then a backbreaker to pick up the victory and claim the middleweight title. Again, I feel like there was a step missing in this match. I'm not sure what. But overall, I had fun with this match. We'll see what Templario gets himself into next. Especially as a triple champion. He is 1/3 of the Trios champions in CMLL. He currently holds the Strong Openweight title for New Japan. And now he holds the MLW Middleweight title. Which, honestly, that's a pretty decorated dude. Anyway, then we get a Matt Riddle versus Dijak hype video. And then we get a promo from Donovan Dijak himself, being introduced by Mr. St. Larock. With Dijak saying, "I'm looking to do nothing but add to my title collection. It's time. The time for talking is done. It's time to do more hijack." Which leads us into our main event, as we get Matt Riddle defending his MLW World title against Dijak. And as the bell rings, out comes Mads Kruger. He has his essentially Money in the Bank. He won a big ladder match with a contract inside. He hits Dijak with the case. He gets in the ring, presents it to the referee. Ding, ding, ding. Match is now a triple threat. And immediately, Kruger with a choke slam to Matt Riddle only gets a 2 count. And this was kind of a hoss fight, especially between Kruger and Dijak. Riddle definitely got his own stuff in, including cutters, which, let's face it, that's the RKO. Riddle at one point was going for a running move. I don't know what happened, because then Mr. St. Laurent grabbed him by the leg. Dijak with a low blow hits a Feast Your Eyes for the 2 count. Then Kruger with a... Actually, they both do eye rakes to one another. Dijak then hits Kruger with the tag team title belt. Riddle with a moonsault to the outside. gets Dijak back in the ring, hits a bro stone for a 2 count. And then Kruger hitting what I can only explain as a glam slam, which is full Nelson double, and drops him on his face to pick up the win. And then post-match, Dijak gets in Kruger's face, and they just brawl all over the arena, including to an area kind of outside the arena. They brawl past all the fans ringside. And then at one point we see Kruger choking Dijak against the wall. Then Hammerstone comes around the corner, hits Kruger with a chair shot. Kruger just kind of looks at him. Hammerstone with another chair shot. That gets Kruger to release the hold. Then everyone just kind of looks at each other as Kruger bails. So, yeah, that was a very entertaining show. If you guys haven't seen anything of MLW, again, September 27th, they got another show like this coming up. Should be a really, really good one. And, yeah, that's going to do it for me today. I hope you all enjoyed. So, coming up, I am actually going to be away on a trip for a week, starting next Monday. So, no video then. I am going to try my best to get both Power and AEW September to Remember video done either Thursday or Friday. So we can do a video then. Then maybe I'll do a makeup video when I come back. So hopefully you sit tight for that. Till next time, happy wrestling everybody. Peace.